In this video, we're going to go over the trim to fit graphics sold by Darkside Studios. We're going to start with how it comes in the mail, depending on what you order. So I'll just cut this open. Be careful not to go too deep into the box. So inside the box here, we've got two different products of thickness. So this product is the super thick 25 mil. You can see how thick it is. And this product here is the thinner 13 mil. The differences between these products, if you just look at them flat on the table like this, you can't see anything. You have to turn it on its side to see the thickness. Generally speaking, the thicker the product, the more you can bash it before it gets down into the print. However, the thicker the product, the harder it is to get it to go around extreme curves. So if you're going around pretty good curves, you're going to probably want to go with the 13 mil. If you're doing chassis plates, or let's say the bottom of a Traxxas X-MAXX chassis skid plate, that's plastic, you can still get away with this thicker stuff. But beyond that, they are the same, and they have the same adhesive as well. So let's do an example on a steel skid plate. I don't actually have an RC car here in the studio that has a steel skid plate, so I'm just using just a low-C chassis plate. If this is on your car, you're probably going to want to remove things that could get in the way in this area. With the trim to fit, you're basically relegated to putting this over top of the screws. So if there is a screw that you need to take out for adjustments a lot, you may want to remove that screw before you put it on. And after you put it on, you can sort of press down and see where it is, and then you can trim it out however you see fit, so you have access to that screw. Then you can put the screw back in. So one of the first things you want to do is obviously start with a clean, sterile table. I'm going to use some rubbing alcohol. You can get this at Walmart, Amazon, Target, anywhere really. And a clean, lint-free cloth. What this is going to do is just basically take all the impurities out. Obviously this chassis plate is brand new, so there are no impurities, but the cleaner it is, the better the bond. I'm going to clean the table a little bit, make sure the table's clean. Stuff really dries fast, as you can see, which really is the ticket to how it cleans. So that's pretty much dry. So let's see, we got two options here. If you place this order, you bought the 4x10 and then you also added to your cart, looks like a 12x20 carbon fiber. Obviously the 4x10 won't quite fit this chassis plate, but the process is the same. So let's start with the 25 mil carbon fiber. You can do this a lot of different ways. If you want to pick it up and stick it straight down, you can do that. What I'm going to do is actually flip this upside down and then take the chassis plate and stick it on so that I can see the excess and save the excess for something else, like a window set for an X-MAXX or a low-C or something like that. So again, I'm going to wipe my table down, make sure it's clean. My hands are clean. I'm just going to take this and lay it like that, and you can see how sticky it is. I mean, I can barely handle it. You can see this is the real deal. This stuff does not compare to the cheap carbon fiber wraps that are being sold on eBay and Amazon. Just watch yourself with that stuff. They really aren't designed for low surface energy plastics like battery trays or this textured type steel. The stuff just won't last, not as long as this will. So you're basically, when you buy this, you're paying for the quality and the durability. So we just clean this. So I'm going to take it and try and just set it down like this, and then I'm gonna rock it down like that. I'm just gonna press it so it holds in place, and then I can turn it over here, and you can see, because of the thickness of the product, there's really no air bubbles. It's so rigid that it really just, as it goes down, it pushes the air out. If you do have an air bubble, it's not a big deal. At this point, you can still lift it a little bit. You can see there's no residue. You've got maybe 30 seconds before the bond really starts. So what I'm gonna do now is turn it back over. I'm gonna push that like that. You can see that this chassis plate is flanged here a little bit. So I'm just gonna bring this up and get it stuck on there. Again, I'm gonna rock it up on that flange. This is up here, okay? So now at this point, you have a choice. How much do you really wanna save? Some people, you may wanna just go like this and come down like that. For the sake of the video, I'm just gonna do it really quickly. I know this is a crude cut. Okay, at this point, it's free. So I'm gonna push down on the piece I'm keeping. Again, this stuff is really sticky, so just be careful with it. So here you still have some left, right? And you can do a lot of stuff with just that piece. So I'm gonna take my backing paper that it came on, and I'm just gonna put it back on there for storage. So that'll be for another project. And we'll set it aside. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my X-MAXX knife, and again, you can get one of these anywhere. Walmart, Target, Amazon. And I'm just gonna trim around the edge here. Okay. So this is waste. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take a heat gun. Because this stuff is so thick, it's important to take a heat gun to it and really get the adhesive activated. When you take a heat gun to it, you're gonna see air bubbles show up. This is because whatever's behind there is expanding from the heat. So now I'm just gonna take a soft cloth, rub everything down. And I do have some air bubbles. So I'm gonna take my X-MAXX knife. I'm gonna force the air bubble with my finger and just pop a small hole in it and push it down, and it disappears. You can pop a small hole in it, push it down, and it disappears. You should do this while it's still sort of warm. So if you need some more heat, go ahead and add it, and you can work the air bubbles right out. I'm not gonna go through and remove all the air bubbles here just for the sake of video, because I wanna get on to back cutting. Okay, so now you can see that the edge of the graphic goes right to the edge of the chassis plate. And the problem here is you can take your finger and you can pull on the edge, and if you look closely, you can see it. See how I'm able to peel it back a little bit there? So that's why we back cut. So in order to back cut, you can do this with some quarters. You can take some quarters and put them as a spacer and run around the edge. I just like to use my finger as a guide. So I'm using my finger as a guide, trying to hold this so you guys can see. I'm gonna back cut about 1/8. I'm not gonna do the whole thing because of time. Start to go around the edge here. Now at this point, you've back cut it, and I'm just gonna peel it off. And you can see now, we've got a nice clean back cut edge. And of course, We still have some air bubbles that we need to get out, but again, because of time, I'm not gonna do that. You can see it's got a nice shine to it. That's the 25 mil thick clear over laminate. I mean, you can't hurt this stuff. So there's the chassis plate. I think the next thing I'm gonna do is install some carbon fiber on a Brute Bash Proline body windows, and that'll show you how to back cut, trim to fit the window graphics, or you can even do something like the bed. It's good for that as well. On the situations like that, I would recommend the 13 mil for the bed because you need to go around some pretty significant curves. You could get away with the 25 mil on the windows, but it's pretty thick stuff, and as far as the windows go, it doesn't really take that much of a beating like a chassis plate would, so you can also get away with the 13 mil. Here we have a Proline Brute Bash. One of the things about these indestructible type bodies, regardless of who makes them, is they are very, very, very low surface energy plastics. The type of plastic used to make these things durable is hard to stick to. So if you're thinking about going on eBay and buying some 3M die-knock carbon fiber material, guess what? It's not going to stick very well. The formulation in these products sold by Darkside Studios is designed specifically to stick to this type of low surface energy plastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a window in some carbon fiber material. It's super easy. Just going to line up in this situation the material. I'm going to eyeball about how big it is. You can see the window is right there, and I need about that much. So here's the window. I've overcut my material to fit in there. Again, you can see this is the 13 mil product. It's a little bit thinner, but still thicker than the average graphic. I am going to take my cleaning towel and I'm going to prep the windows, remove any grease, solvents. Again, that's just isopropyl, 91% or more alcohol. You can see it's already dried. I think what I'll do for the windows is, they call it a hinge application. So you don't want to stick it straight down. You want to sort of hinge it, and since the window actually, let's see if I can get some better lighting here for you guys. The window actually starts there. So I'm going to backspace it a little bit to create my hinge. Okay? So here I've got my hinge. I'm going to take soft cloth and I'm just going to go back and forth. Okay, so now I'm just going to go around, and you can sort of feel where the window is here. Just going around the edges. Okay. Now if we take a look at this, there is not a single air bubble in there. Looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take the heat gun, heat it up a little bit, and really take my finger. In fact, I'm going to use my towel again. Now it's warm and it's very conformable, and I can really get it in there. It's pretty good. At this point, all you need is your knife, right? and you're just going to trace out where you want to cut it. In this case, because of this body has a very shallow window inset, so it's a little hard for me to see. I think I'll start on this side. And again, this is a situation where you don't have to go all the way through the graphic. You can just score it. So I'm just sort of scoring it. And then when you get to the end, lift it up, and you can see it hasn't gone all the way through. Because I can't, see how it hasn't gone all the way through? It's just scored on the top. So what you want to do then is actually go all the way through once you hinge it up like this. And then you can run it right down that score. So I didn't get quite deep enough on my score here. So I'm going to go through again. And you can see I'm getting a nice clean tear. So now we'll do the bottom. Find your line. Again, I just scored it. I didn't go all the way through the body. And you can see, you can tell I scored it because it does not want to lift up right there. So you got to finish it off. And once you do that, and if this happens, your score wasn't quite deep enough, you can just come back through your original score. And do it again. There you go. I have a little bit of cleanup to do here. Again, you don't have to go all the way through. You can just sort of score it and then use your knife to get it out. There it is. And you can go all the way around the rest of the window as you see fit. You can do it back here using the same process. Really, you can do it anywhere. You can move on to battery trays, plastics. Process is the same. Just prep it with the alcohol and take your time. Use a sharp knife. Keep a blow dryer or a heat gun on hand, and you'll be good to go.